this is what they were doing to line the pockets of that car maker. It is despicable. In a February 24th letter to shareholders from the Hyundai chief executive, Jaehoon Chang, the company will divest a 72% controlling stake in Smart Alabama LLC in Luverne, Alabama, a direct Hyundai subsidiary where Reuters last year documented children as young as 12 were working. 72% control. Do you think they had no idea? This man, wonder how much money he makes. Company also said recent audits at 29 of its direct suppliers across Alabama made it confident they are now, he just now audited everybody, in full compliance with underage labor laws after working with the US Department of Labor. That statement is full of nonsense. It's just, those are just words. Those are just words that this company released. We're now fully compliant, we're confident after working with the Department of Labor. How many people have to work with the Department of Labor to not hire 12-year-olds to illegally do their bidding and their work? This is a ridiculous statement from that guy, Mr. Chang. Hyundai pledging to its shareholders. It comes after a 2022 Reuters investigation showing several suppliers to the automaker's massive Montgomery, Alabama vehicle plant use underage migrant workers to make parts for its popular US-made cars and SUVs. Gotta roll them out, gotta roll them out. Following Reuters' first story on child labor at Smart last July, as many as 10 Hyundai suppliers in Alabama have been under investigation by state or federal authorities for child labor violations. Sounds like a theme, sounds like what they were about. One of the plants was inspected last August. Authorities found and removed several children from the factory floor, later issuing penalties to the plant operator and a third-party staffing firm who recruited them. Penalties. As Reuters reported earlier, many of the underage workers who found their way into the Alabama auto parts plants were recruited by third-party staffing agencies, a process that can allow big corporations to turn a blind eye to the illegal employment of minors. This is incredible. Chang wrote the staffing firms who hired children to work at Hyundai supplier plants have provided false employee documentation. You mean the kind that maybe the automaker could have checked out independently? Okay. In the future, however, Hyundai and its supply chain partners must do more to ensure children are never put to work in their factories, the letter said. US and Alabama law prohibit people under the age of 16 from working in industrial factory settings, and anyone under 18 is prohibited from working in particularly dangerous roles in automotive plants, such as driving forklifts or operating metal cutting and stamping machines. Just last Friday, Labor Department said it found 102 children as young as 13 working hazardous overnight jobs, cleaning slaughterhouses in 8 states in what it called a corporate-wide failure by one of the largest food sanitation companies in the country, Packers Sanitation Services. The Labor Department says the children worked overnight shifts using caustic chemicals to clean razor-sharp saws. Company employs 17,000 workers at 700 sites nationwide. Advocates and lawyers for the children say some of the child workers were unaccompanied minors who recently came across the southern border. Packers Sanitation Services has paid a $1.5 million fine for the violations as dictated by the Fair Labor Standards Act, which allows a penalty of $15,138 for each minor who was employed. Meanwhile, instead of paying adult workers more, some states might let companies hire kids as young as 14 to address labor shortages. This is America. That song. Lawmakers in Iowa and Minnesota have introduced legislation in the last month proposing exceptions to child labor regulations in their respective states due to the persisting labor shortage hitting them particularly hard. Means lawmakers in those 2 states are returning to a practice common during labor shortages, economists telling the Wall Street Journal's Jacob budget last week, hiring younger workers to fill these open roles. The laws take aim at the number of hours that children are allowed to work and protect employers from liabilities due to sickness or accidents, written in favor of the employers. In the case of the latter, those employer protections dovetail with the kind of dangerous industries the bills are looking to prop up: construction in Minnesota, meat packing plants in Iowa. The bills come as efforts to expand legal working ages in other states have ramped up recently, and as the US has seen an increase in child labor violations since 2015. Pandemic-era labor shortage, which looks to be a permanent one, not helping, with many businesses coming under fire for violations in recent years. I don't know where to begin, Jeff. They don't care anything about these migrant kids. Not a thing. Okay, you have Mr. Chang's dumb letter. It's actually a really ignorant, dumb letter. Okay, he's the kind of person that you release that letter to me, and I'm an investigative journalist. We usually don't show up at executives' homes, bankers' homes. I'd show up at his house. You're not going to give me that letter. I got questions for you. And you get out of your car, maybe it's behind a fence, and you'd have a microphone. Even if I had to deliver a pizza, I have questions for you, and I'm going to ask you some tough questions, Mr. Chang. If this has got me, Jeff, your turn.
Well, you brought up the Childish Gambino song, "This Is America." And look, when people talk about how great America is while expressing American exceptionalism, they bring up available freedoms and rights versus like slavery and oppression and other human rights issues in other countries. And I want to be like, have you heard of Alabama? Like, this is happening here. Have you heard of the United States? Don't talk about China or North Korea or India or any other place. Have you heard of the American South and what's going on here? And even with all that being said, like the United States, we take advantage of really poor labor laws in other countries in order to make our goods. Like, I boycott a lot of industries and organizations and companies, but boy, do I buy a lot of Nike, a whole lot. So yeah, this is who we are. This is America. You pegged it right. You got it.
And then the fine. $1.5 million is Mr. Chang's lunch money. Okay. Okay. Is it gas for his private jet? An audit, a recent audit. We now think we're in compliance, and we've worked with the Department. You don't work with the Department of Labor unless you've done some nasty, some real nasty. And that's what they've done. Okay. You didn't just call up the Department of Labor and say, you know what? I think that we have an issue here that we kind of want to deal with. And so we wanted your guidance. It's the other way around, Mr. Chang. The journalists smoked you out. You are treating children like really slaves. You're treating them like child slaves in your factories because God forbid one less vehicle hits the roadways. God forbid we can't get consumers what they need. Should I stop now, Jeff?
You said it all. I'm sorry, I paused there because I'm like, well, I don't have anything to add, even though I'm supposed to provide commentary. But when you nail it, I'm just quiet. So I'm sorry. You got all of it right. Excellent journalism out of Reuters.
I apologize. It's really called filibustering. You're our guest host, but I couldn't help it. As I got deeper and deeper into Mr. Chang's, you know what? Okay, you need those waiter boots that my stepfather got me as a child, and I hated to walk because I can't feel the bottom. Okay, that's what you need for what Mr. Chang is dumping on the rest of us. It's a story we need to keep following. Buy whatever car you want to. I know what I'm not going to buy.